My name is Elise Armile, and I am presenting my research on a mineral sunscreen formula that is simple and non-irritating but protective against UVA and UVB rays. According to the FDA, sunscreens are over-the-counter drugs that affect the structure or function of the body by absorbing, reflecting, or scattering the harmful burning rays of the sun, thereby altering the normal physiological response to solar radiation. This was my first time formulating a sunscreen, so my goal and intention in creating this was to form a new understanding of sunscreen formulation and gain more knowledge about the differences between mineral and synthetic sunscreens. I also intended to help further my technical innovation in cosmetic science. Sunscreen labels can be confusing because they offer phrases such as broad spectrum sunscreen and SPF. So a broad spectrum sunscreen means it protects the skin from UVB and most of UVA radiation, using a chemical layer to absorb and reflect UV radiation. The sun protection factor is a level of sunburn protection that the sunscreen delivers. By creating a waterless sunscreen, I was able to reduce the unnecessary use of water to make my product more sustainable. And then, according to the American Academy of Dermatology, the recommended SPF for daily facial sunscreen is 30 plus. So I looked for a formula that was over 30 SPF. A natural sunscreen is a term companies use to market sunscreens. It's described as a formulation free from various ingredients such as parabens, and also uses zinc oxide and or titanium dioxide to block the UV rays from the skin. A mineral sunscreen is a term used interchangeably with inorganic and physical sunscreens. The non-nanoparticles are greater than 100 nanometers and are active ingredients that can be safer for marine life because they don't cause coral bleaching, which can occur when anemones create a toxin after being exposed to oxybenzone in sunlight. This causes the coral to turn completely white and stresses the organism, affecting its mortality. A synthetic sunscreen is also known as an organic, chemical, or non-mineral sunscreen that uses 2 to 6 active chemical ingredients to absorb UV rays. While these ingredients have been approved by the FDA, there have been several studies not conducted by the FDA that conclude the chemical UV filters can be found in the body, which could potentially have endocrine disrupting effects. The nomenclature of sunscreen descriptions can be confusing as a consumer, but as a chemist, the practice of describing a skincare product as a chemical product to distinguish one from the other feels wrong because all skincare ingredients are chemicals, including water. This was the given method provided by UL Prospector, which offered a good base of where to start when formulating my skincare product. To ensure the SPF was what they claimed, they tested the SPF level on 5 subjects in vivo using the FDA method. This was the method that I ended up using to make a 100-gram waterless mineral sunscreen. In my methods, PEG 40 is an emollient that was used instead to replicate the thickening agent characteristic of trihydroxystearin. No modifications were made to phase B of the formulation because those are the active ingredients. And vitamin E was used as an antioxidant stabilizing agent instead of Lexigard E in phase C. I pre-measured the phases into separate beakers and weigh boats and used a heating plate and propeller mixer to combine the 3 phases using the apparatus depicted on the slide. As you can see in the video, the product was a white lotion that left a bit of a white cast and greasy shine. The consistency was initially thinner, but as the formula cooled, it thickened up and resembled a whipped look. The viscosity of the formula was thick because it was waterless, and again, referring to the video, you can visibly see the shine it left on my skin because sunscreens are generally requiring a high amount of oil phase for those UV filters to dissolve or disperse properly. A 100% grease-free sunscreen is unlikely. This could be remedied by some cosmetic translucent powder or another makeup powder on top of applied sunscreen. And the zinc oxide and titanium dioxide are dispersed, not dissolved in the formulation, so the skin was left with that lighter look, also known as a white cast, but by adding some pigment into the formula to create a skin tint, the white cast conflict could be resolved. It has become trendy to use a daily sunscreen for your face, neck, and hands to prevent visible signs of aging, and the trend of keeping the coral reefs healthy has influenced more consumers to choose a mineral sunscreen, but unfortunately, social media can spread misinformation about sunscreens, including the true meaning of what SPF means. There's a popular misconception that SPF relates to the time of solar exposure. For example, many people think that SPF 15 means they can stay in the sun for 15 hours without getting sunburned. Although solar energy amount is related to solar exposure time, there are other factors impact the amount of solar energy. And here are my resources. Thank you for watching.